Hello again. I wanted to discuss two videos from the guy that has the channel Shifter. And I disagree with what is stated there, but I'll explain. I'll let him go first about the unexpected benefits of an upright Dutch bike, and he means that you ride more relaxed.
Let's show him on this Dutch bike. For one, you're sitting almost completely upright. You're leaning back, your feet are almost in front of you, which totally changes the position. It's like sitting on a recliner. That's why I called it a lazy boy. Often the handlebars curl back towards you, so you don't have to stretch forward. It just changes the way you approach the ride completely. And let me tell you, they are comfortable. And you're probably thinking, so what? So the bike is comfortable. You can get lots of other comfortable bikes too. But these bikes are comfortable in a different way. And what I mean by a state of mind is that when you're riding it, it just changes your whole approach to riding. I'd go so far as to say that it changes your view of the world.
Yeah, this is not true. It slightly nudges it. I will explain. When I was 12, I got a new bike, and it was an upright Dutch bike like this, but the male version. And always when I went somewhere, I was riding fast, and when I got there, I was always a bit sweaty because I like to ride fast. It's just in me. A few years ago, it was perhaps last year, 2 years ago or last year, I took a ride on a grandma bike from a relative. Oh yeah, it was last year because I fixed it. So I fixed some spokes in the rear wheel, and I thought, yeah, that's pretty. To test it out, I really had a pretty relaxing ride. However, I did not continue with that because I like to ride fast. So what I do then is put my forearms on the handlebar, for example, to go in a more aerodynamic position. And yeah, that's just in your personality. So it gives a slight nudge to the fact that you can ride relaxed, but for me it doesn't work. It has never worked in my youth. It does not work now, even though I feel, yeah, you can ride relaxed with it. But conversely, with a lot of mountain bikes or road bikes, you see a lot of people not going very fast at all. And that's because they aren't fast. I mean, they're not in shape, but they're not really trying as well, I think. So I don't agree with this video. It gives only a slight nudge. The second one is the perfect number of gears on your urban bike is 3, and I don't agree with that either. He mentions you need a gear for going uphill or for starting. Then you have one for the flats and then one for tail lights, tailwind, or going downhill. And I disagree with that because you only need 2 for a relaxed urban riding. That's what he means, of course. The perfect number of gear for your urban bike is 3. This is about relaxed riding, not for optimal speed riding. For optimal speed riding, the number of gears is about 14 to 18. I calculated that on my webpage about cadence. That section, I think you may want to have a look at it. I will explain briefly. So my page, let's see. So gears, wait, gears, wait a minute. Gears, various transmission systems. Yeah, how many gears do you need? What is optimal? Yeah, this is the old section where I calculated what is optimal from the point of view of just experience, of what works well, what gear step size is approximately optimal, not too small, not too big, and I got to, for an optimal number, to about 14, 15 in that range. But here I will show you the optimal number of gears for easy city riding. It is 2. And why is it 2? Because you only need one starting gear and one normal speed gear. Starting gear for after stopping at stoplights or starting your ride, and the normal gear is for normal riding. If you have a very heavy headwind, you may go into the first gear. If you have need to go uphill and it's steep enough, then you go also to the first gear, but otherwise you go to gear 2. And for tailwind, you don't need to go faster than second gear. If almost nobody in the Netherlands really rides fast, and that means that you don't need 3 gears, you only need 2. So for relaxed city riding, you need 2 gears. Downhill, you also don't need a gear, because why would you pedal downhill? Almost nobody does that in the Netherlands. Touring bike is a different matter. Then you go to the optimal number positions, and he mentioned the book Just Right by Grant Peterson. Optimal number of gears is described as 8, and that is not correct, because optimal number of gears, then you need to take a general situation, and it means going uphill with a lot of baggage, or even a bike trailer. It means going downhill. You don't need to ride fast, but with a tailwind, you do want to ride as fast as possible if you make long tours, because then you want to make as many kilometers per day as possible. So let me put it like this, and I could show it better with the light from the monitor. So this is the calculation. I made a new graph. G is the gear, C is the cadence. This line is speed. So in gear 1, you can go from this speed to this speed by changing the cadence. So if you the pedaling speed, the faster you pedal, the higher you go, logically. There's a minimum cadence. This is a minimal speed or rotation speed that you like, that you feel is okay, that you feel is comfortable. And the maximum, there's also a maximum, but the minimum depends mostly on load. So if you have a high load, then this minimum cadence becomes an issue. Then you want to say, okay, I don't like this because there's a heavy force on my knees. I feel that. I want to switch to a lower gear and pedal faster instead. Now here we have this situation. The gear factor is from gear 1 to gear 2. The gear factor is G1 divided by G2. If that's larger than the cadence factor, which is the factor from the minimum to the maximum cadence, then it means there's a gap in speed. You cannot reach any of these speeds while riding in a cadence that you find comfortable. So you go from this speed at the minimum cadence, and you have a large gear factor, then you go to this speed, and you see that it is above the speed that you can reach from gear 1 with the maximum cadence. So there's a speed range that you cannot reach with a comfortable cadence rotation speed. From gear 1 you can do the same again. This range of speeds you can achieve within your comfortable cadence. This you can't, and then you get another. If the gear factor is the same as the cadence factor, then that means there's no overlap. Then you can reach this speed with 2 gears. In gear 1 with the maximum cadence, in gear 2 with the minimum cadence, and so on. So the gear factor here is exactly the same as the cadence factor, which means there is no overlap. Gear factor 2 so the gear factor G2 divided by G1 is smaller than the cadence factor, maximum divided by the minimum cadence. That means there's an overlap in speeds. So you can reach these speeds with 2 possibilities. One is gear 1 and a given cadence. The other is gear 2 and a lower cadence. Of course, if the gear factor is even smaller, then you can have multiple overlaps and you have multiple possibilities. But I calculated that, and I showed a bit on my page what is logical, what makes sense. A bit also dependent on what you feel. So there are measurements about what is comfortable from experience, and you might want to check out what you find comfortable in cadence range to see what it is like in your situation. But I calculated that it's not 8. You don't need an optimal range I mean, you don't need 2 gears for up, and I mean, you can calculate exactly what it is like. You need about 14 to 18 gears if you want to run with high load, up steep hills, including going fast with a tailwind. And check out my website, I would say. You might find it interesting. Bye, till the next video.